and shortly thereafter is when the shooting commenced. At this time, I'll open it up to questions. Please just raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Were you able to read the letters? Can you tell us what was actually in the letters?
I haven't seen them, but the letters are, from what I understand from some of the investigators that have seen them, they're rambling discourse. They don't make a lot of sense. Apparently, he did make a statement to his wife on the phone that he was acting out in a way to achieve revenge for something that happened 20 years ago. And I think that the location, the school, was probably chosen because it provided a close opportunist, an opportunity to attack where he knew he had young kids. For some reason, I believe, just based on what we know now at this point, I mean, we've got a lot of work to do, but from what we know at this point, it seems as though he wanted to attack young female victims. And this is close to his residence. That's the only reason we can figure that he went to the school. Plus the school, it's a one-room schoolhouse. You can get to it easily. It's not really secured like maybe another school in the school district would be.
Do you have any idea what might have happened 20 years ago? Is there any explanation?
We have some idea, but I don't really want to get into that yet because, I mean, he was not wanted for anything. He was supposed to take a random drug test today, which is just a normal thing as a CDL rated truck driver in Pennsylvania. There was no illegal activity or anything suspected at that point about this individual. It is unknown whether he responded to the location where he was supposed to take that. He borrowed a pickup truck. I think it was a relative's pickup truck, and we were not sure, but we believe he had the weapons already, so that he could put them in the pickup truck as well as the 2x6s and 2x4s.
What was his
lecture about? Contact with mental health officials in his history over the last
Not that we've been able to discover, and as I said, his wife felt everything was fine until she came home this morning and saw the notes. Yes,
Colonel, the numbers don't add up. 3 and 7, and we were told there were as many as 17 or more kids in the school.
I didn't tell you that. I mean, all told, there were 15 male students that I know of, and there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 female students. I apologize for not having the exact number, but because of the fact that, unfortunately, there were people that died on the scene, some were moved outside and perished at the scene, others were removed from the scene and perished at the hospital. So I don't have an exact number, but I can tell you he split them up, males and females. He let the males go. He let some of the adults go. He bound the female victims out by the blackboard and apparently executed them.
Had he had any prior contact with this school, the students, their families, this community? I mean, you said he drove a milk tanker truck. Did he service this community necessarily?
Yes, apparently he did. I mean, he lives not too far from here, so I'm sure that he was known to people in the community. This is a very tight-knit Amish community, and he was, I'm sure, known to people in the community, and he resided here. His family's from this area, as I understand it, so he wasn't from outside the area. He would know where the school is. He would know who would be there.
But no specific contact with the school other than today?
No, not that I'm aware of at this point in time.
Any criminal history that you know of? Has this guy been on anybody's radar prior to this?
Not that I'm aware of at this point. He's not wanted, and I don't know of any criminal history record information.
As best you know now, how many people are dead? How many?
As best as I know right now, there are 3 students that are dead. There is the suspect who is dead. We also have, I believe, 7 other students that were transported injured, some with very serious injuries, gunshot wounds to the head, others with gunshot wounds to other parts of the body. I do not know the status of those 7 that were removed from here. We'll get that later, I'm sure.
Your officers were out combing the field alongside the meadow, alongside the school. Can you explain to me why they were doing that, what they were looking for?
We wanted to make sure that we didn't have any other victims. We didn't have anybody else that exited the premises, maybe with a gunshot wound and tried to get away and perhaps stumbled into a cornfield and was in need of assistance.
And you're confident at the present time that you've accounted for all of the students and others who were inside the building at the time?
We're pretty confident at this point that we don't have anybody else that's out there in need of assistance, that all the people that need assistance have been triaged and removed from the scene. Very, very traumatic situation. Some of my troopers, actually one of the girls died in the arms of one of our troopers. So we have some of our member assistance personnel, as well as we've been, Lancaster County has been great. We've got the command post down here. We're working with, we've got a number of obviously state police personnel here. We also have the district attorney's office and their personnel. We have the coroner's been here. We have EMS personnel, and everyone's working real well together.
Have you been able to confirm they were his weapons? Did he legally own those weapons?
I can't confirm that right now. I believe them to be weapons that he possessed and he owned, but I'm not positive at this point.
Colonel, did you say he tried to send a message to the students while he was in the classroom? Do you know what the content was?
I just know that when he first came in to the school, it was reported to us that he displayed the handgun, and he spoke to the students. I don't know exactly what he said. I don't think it made a lot of sense to the people that were present, but obviously the teacher was immediately alarmed that this gentleman had walked into the school and he had a gun with him. And fortunately, she was able to get out and call 911. Unfortunately, not all the kids could get out.
Colonel, can you walk us through the time frame again, that 10-second, you lost me in the time frame.
Well, we got the call at 10:36 hours to our CDC. So our troopers were dispatched. We had troopers on the scene at 10:45, 9 minutes later. The troopers that arrived on the scene immediately set up a perimeter. One of the troopers, as I said, was a CERT negotiator. He's trained in the art of negotiating with armed suspects. He immediately began to try to hail the suspect. At the time he was doing this, using the PA, because again, we didn't have a phone, we didn't know what his cell phone was. As he's beginning to hail with the PA, we get word through our CDC from Lancaster County Radio that the suspect had called Lancaster County Radio and stated to them that if the state police don't remove themselves from the scene, he's going to start shooting people in 10 seconds. Well, we were able to grab a cell phone number, and we started to get that word out on the perimeter because, as I said, we have ballistic shields fully prepared. Our people were fully prepared to assault the facility if they had to. The CERT negotiator was then called on the cell phone to try to reach him, to try to get to him before anything happened, to try to just talk to him, using our protocols. And at the time, right about the time he's placing the call and the word is getting out to the perimeter that he made this threat, the shots begin to be fired. And our troopers responded. We had approximately 10 troopers responding on foot at that point to assault the building with ballistic shields and weapons. And as I said, the building was secured from the inside. He had barricaded it with 2x6s and 2x4s. Desks were piled up. There was no way for our people to really get into the doors. They had to break the windows.
Do you have any reason to believe that Mr. Roberts had Amish relatives on any side?
At this point, I don't know that he does. I don't believe that this offense, as far as I know right now, I don't believe this has anything to do with the Amish community, but I don't know that for sure. I don't believe that it does, but that's just based on what we know at this moment. Yes.
Do you have any idea then what time he went into the building, what the time frame was, how many minutes he had to get the kids all bound up, how much time he had to do this?
Approximately 45 minutes. He was in the school, we believe, approximately 45 minutes prior to us getting the call. So we got the call at 10:36, so probably shortly before 10 a.m. this morning is when he entered the school.
Colonel, you touched on it a little bit. How difficult is this, because there are children in that, for you and the other troopers on the scene? What has this been like for you? Well,
I'm not worried about, it's very difficult for me, but it's 10 times as difficult for the troopers that were the first ones on the scene and the ones that are doing the investigation. I was at the scene. I didn't enter the building. I was able to look in the building, and it's a horrendous crime scene. It's just, and as I said, one of the children died in the arms of one of our troopers.
Colonel, was this individual charged with any crimes or arrested as a juvenile 20 years ago?
I don't have any information on that. As far as I know, he was not wanted at this time, and I don't believe he has a criminal history from what I've been told this morning. Yes, sir.
Colonel, do you know anything else, can you tell us anything else about this incident 20 years ago? And do you think that is the motive?
Well, I'm just telling you what has been, I'm just giving you an overview of what has been told to us in interviews we've done with his wife and some other people that we've talked to this morning. I'm not prepared to go into anything other than to say that on the phone this morning he made a statement to his wife while he was inside the school. She didn't know where he was, that he couldn't go on anymore. The notes will explain it, and he was getting revenge for something that happened 20 years ago.